Okay, good morning everyone. So today we are focusing on the differences between literature as a subject and English as a subject. So before we do that, I want us to just do a recap and clarify certain points that I stated in the meaning and definition of literature. So literature can also be observable aspects of society, that the phenomena and issues that are happening in society, and when they are affecting us. It's not all the time that literature should be written, but the most important thing that you have to understand when you're bringing the meaning of literature is that these aspects, they have to save the test of time. They have to save the test of time, and they have to save generations to come. That is why something that is written is considered as literature, because it will save the test of time as compared to something that will just happen maybe for a moment and then it stops. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that point. So today we are going to focus more on the distinction or differences between literature as a subject and then English as a subject. So let's dive into the topic for today. So now, before we do that, it's also important that English as a subject is actually regarded as a skill-based subject, meaning it has four major skills that one has to understand, which one of it is that English, you have, for you to become fluent and competent, you have to develop the skill of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So these are the major four concept and skill-based approaches to English as a language or as a subject. So let's look at the differences between literature as a subject and English as a subject. So the first difference we are going to look at is to do with purpose. Okay, the key difference in terms of purpose. What purpose does literature serve as a subject, and what purpose does English serve as a subject, and what are the key differences? So we have to understand that so that we move forward properly. So purpose, we understand that literature in English as a subject wants to develop an appreciation for literary works and critical thinking. Okay, so literature wants to develop an appreciation for literary works and also develop individuals' critical thinking in terms of text analysis. Then on the other hand, we see English as a subject which aims to develop proficiency in reading, writing, speaking, and listening in English for basically effective communication. So that is very important. Remember, I earlier on stated that English as a subject is a skill-based, so it aims at improving these four based skills of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. You reach proficiency, or what we might term as optimal level, so that your communication base is developed. On the other hand, we see literature, which uses literal works to improve your critical thinking or analysis aspect, outside the box kind of thinking. That is in terms of purpose. Then the second difference is that literature as a subject, when you look at it in terms of content, the content that comes out in literature is that it includes genres or types of literature, then literary criticism, and stylistic devices. So when we look at stylistic devices, we are looking at certain devices that brings the literal work to meaning, You know, when you're reading these stylistic devices, they mainly focus on emphasizing or clarifying a point. But one thing that you have to understand is that these stylistic devices can also be incorporated in English as a subject, but that does not make English as English literature. So in terms of content, we can combine the two contents to bring about the meaning and the ideas that we want to communicate for effective communication purposes. However, the difference then comes in English, where English covers the concept or aspects of listening and speaking, comprehension, composition, structure, and summary. So those are the aspects that English covers. But then we understand that we can use some literal devices or stylistic devices to make our composition even more interesting and appealing to the reader. Then we move on to the third difference, which has to do with the approach that we take. So literature, basically we use literally analysis, thematic discussion, dramatic performance, and personal interpretation of the text. Those are the things that we use in literature. Whereas in English, we are able to understand that in terms of approach, English uses drills, exercises like composition, writing, reading comprehension, and many prose fiction, summary, and all those things. So that is the approach. When you're teaching English as a subject, you understand that you learn actually more of composition, structure, grammar, summary, note taking, and all those things. So drills, so that is the approach you take when you're learning English as a subject. Then the last point that we have to understand in regard to the differences between literature and in English and English as a subject is that the outcome. What is the outcome when you are learning literature as a subject? The outcome is that in literature, we are able to see that literature enhances creativity, it also enhances critical thinking, and also cultural awareness. Very important. So in as much as your critical thinking is developing when you are learning literature, because you are exposed to different cultural concepts, cultural instances. So as a student of literature, by the end of the lesson or by the end of the course, you are supposed to become culturally aware of many aspects of values of communities and societies, the do's and don'ts. So in short, we are saying that literature helps to remove the moral decay that is slowly engulfing our societies. Then in terms of English, we are able to see that the outcome is improved fluency in reading, in writing, in speaking, and listening. So you understand that where communication is concerned, you are able to adapt regardless of the accent a person is using, regardless of the background, the dialects, and all that. You are able to to improve that proficiency in speaking, in understanding, and just in generally in communication. You become a very proficient speaker. Okay, so this is it for today. So remember that this is a channel where we learn literature, and as much as we are learning, don't forget to subscribe so that every time I upload a video, you are able to get up to date. You are updated, and I'll be covering all the aspects of the Zambian syllabus. So make sure you subscribe and you hit the notification button so that every time a video is uploaded, you are able to be updated. So thank you, and see you in the next lesson. Okay.